Hi, this is Simon, an accessibility analyst with Nels, and today we're going to be exploring the TalkBack Braille keyboard. This is a really convenient way for Braille users to type on their Android phone using the TalkBack screen reader and a virtual keyboard with just 6 positions, which of course correspond to the 6 Braille dots. So to set this up, we first need to open TalkBack settings and turn it on. The easiest way to do this is from anywhere, in any app, do a 3-finger single tap on the screen.
TalkBack menu.
This will bring up the TalkBack menu, and we can scroll down to
TalkBack settings.
TalkBack settings.
Keyboard hidden. TalkBack settings. Navigate up button.
From here, we need to find the item called Braille keyboard.
Braille keyboard 13 of 21. Braille keyboard. Navigate up button. Out of list.
And in here, the first item, the first time you go here, is going to be Set up Braille keyboard.
Set up Braille keyboard 1 of 8.
So we double tap that, and we get a small message.
1. Turn on Braille keyboard below. 2. Open your regular keyboard, then tap switch input method, usually in the bottom right corner. 3. Select TalkBack Braille keyboard. If you can switch keyboards, try installing board.
Okay.
Google cancel.
So we're going to just go to the turn on button.
Double tap to activate.
And double
Braille
tap
keyboard.
that.
How to use Braille keyboard 1 of 8.
And then we can go back.
Back button. TalkBack settings. Braille key.
And back again.
Untitled document.
And we're back in Google Docs where I started.
Showing English, US, QWERTY.
So right now the keyboard that's being shown, as it just said, is English US QWERTY, which is the default on-screen keyboard.
Capital A, capital D, capital G,
and so on.
Capital H, hotel, enter.
What we need to do
Switch input method
is find the switch input method button. It's quite small and in the bottom right corner. The one thing you might want to do is go into TalkBack settings, customize the gestures, and add one to open the Braille keyboard. Mine is a 3-finger swipe up. This makes it a lot easier to activate the keyboard without having to find that tiny button in the corner. But meanwhile, we're going to press that button with a double tap.
Exiting keyboard editing view. Swipe up with 3 fingers for more options. Screen away mode. Keyboard hidden.
So TalkBack has just told us a lot of things which are a little bit confusing. Firstly, it said keyboard hidden, but what it actually means is that it showed the Braille keyboard and hid the Gboard, the typical on-screen keyboard. It also said screen away mode, which is one of the 2 orientations that's possible for Braille screen input. You can either have it in tabletop mode, where it rests on a flat surface, which could be a table or could be your lap, or it can be in screen away mode, which we're going to talk about today. In screen away mode, you arrange your fingers kind of like a full Braille cell, with 2 rows of 3. You can hold it either way with the charge port to the left or to the right, and depending on how you hold it, the entire screen will reorient itself automatically. So right now I'm holding my phone with the charge port to the right, and my right hand has its 3 middle fingers, the index, middle, and ring finger, on the screen, and same with my left hand. My pinky fingers are supporting the phone, and my thumbs are supporting it from the top. So what this ends up with is 2 rows of 3 fingers in an approximate Braille dot formation. Before we can start typing, though, we need to tell TalkBack where our fingers are so that it can get a rough approximation of the Braille dots and actually recognize the characters we're trying to type. We do this by holding all 6 fingers on the screen for a few seconds. TalkBack will make a couple of noises.
Dot position updated.
And then it'll say dot positions updated. So that's great. Now this means we should be able to start typing, and I'm going to do that. First of all, one thing to note is that there is no space bar in Braille screen input, and that is because to insert a space, you have to swipe to the right with any finger. So I'm going to start typing, and you're going to hear some character feedback as I do.
Cap. TH. This.
It says this, that's because I swiped right and inserted a space.
I. S. Is. A. Space. T. E. Street. Dots 256. Test.
One thing that you'll notice is that it said street when I typed the ST contraction. That's because my synthesizer is expanding the ST abbreviation as street, which is a little presumptuous of it, but such is the way. So now we've typed a sentence. What if we want to edit that sentence? First of all, if you want to delete the last character you typed, you can swipe left with 1 finger.
Space.
TalkBack will say space because I typed a space after the period. If I swipe left again,
period.
We can also swipe left with 2 fingers to delete the last word.
A.
TalkBack is not being very reliable when it reads the word that I deleted for some reason, but rest assured the sentence is gone. The other thing that we can do is swipe up or down with a single finger to move the cursor. So I'm just going to type the word testing.
Cap, T-E, street, ing. Testing.
And then if I swipe up with one finger repeatedly,
Space, G-N-I-T.
We can edit that way.
T-I-N-G, space.
There are more advanced Braille gestures available, and we're not going to go over all of them, but I'll show you how to get to the menu where you can go over all of them. And that is by swiping up with 3 fingers.
Braille keyboard options. Switch to uncontracted Braille. In list.
So there's a few options in this menu.
Update dot positions. Review gestures. Open tutorial. Settings. Close. Button. Out of list.
And those are all important to have readily available.
Untitled document. Screen away mode.
One of the things that you can do, and which you may have been prompted to do when you first pulled up the Braille keyboard, is go through the tutorial. This tutorial is actually really useful. It doesn't just explain how to use the Braille keyboard, it actually has you demonstrate that you know how to use the Braille keyboard and helps you learn the gestures. So it's useful to go through this even if you've seen this entire demo. Now, as for exiting the Braille keyboard, there are a few different ways of doing that. Firstly, if you are in a search field, you can swipe up with 2 fingers to submit the text that you're searching for. There are a couple of contexts where this works. You can submit a message that you're typing, or you can open the Play Store, search for an app, and swipe up with 2 fingers to load search results. Either way, it's kind of a final gesture that says, I'm done typing in this text field. The other thing that you can do is swipe down with 2 fingers to dismiss the keyboard, but not actually submit the text. And finally, you can swipe down with 3 fingers to move to the next keyboard. So if we do that right now,
document, editing,
it's going to bring up
showing English, US, QWERTY.
The default Gboard, which is where we started before we switched to the Braille keyboard. Now we can run our finger over this keyboard and verify that we're just using the standard
V, space, enter,
keyboard. If you want to get back to Braille, you can use a gesture that you set up, or you can go back to the switch input method button.
Overview, button.
Which really is kind of difficult to find.
N, Nova M, period, overview, switch in, enter, window English, period.
Yeah, it's just this teeny little thing.
Switch input method, button.
Kind of below the enter key. So not the most ideal setup, and I would definitely recommend assigning a gesture if this is something you're going to use often. Again, it's worth going through the tutorial to learn the full set of gestures. There are ways of editing text, selecting text, using the proofreading functionality, and more. It's a very useful keyboard and something that I find to be a really compelling feature of Android and a really good primary input method for typing just about anything you might want to type.